Coming out tonight. Going to start with roll call and Clerk Gorham.
Thank you, Chair Loeffler-Kemp. I am here. Member Kirby.
Here.
Chair Loeffler-Kemp.
Here.
Member Lofald.
Here.
Member Oswald.
Here.
Member Sandstead.
Here.
Member Trinka.
Here.
Superintendent Gronseth.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Horton.
Here.
Deputy Clerk Kathy Erickson.
Here.
Secretary Jackie Dolitz.
Here.
Secretary Melinda Tipo.
Here.
And student representatives Emily Natal. Natalie, thank you for the correction. And Vanessa Farrell. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And welcome again to Emma and Vanessa, and they'll share a little bit more about themselves doing the student updates. So thank you and welcome to your first meeting. Clerk Gorham, can you read the community vision statement, please?
Sorry, shut this off here.
Okay. Nobody help me.
Community vision and priorities for Duluth schools. We will build on our shared beliefs and values of unity, high achievement, and responsible use of resources to create Duluth public schools and classrooms that are safe, supportive, and inclusive. We will work to inspire every student to achieve their potential and prepare students to lead productive, fulfilling lives as citizens of Duluth and the wider world.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is approving of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Member Lofold. Okay, and then is there any discussion? Member Trinka, do you want to?
Yep. I would like us to add under the Business Committee agenda, Section 4A, add discussion of the contract regarding the Costin Group.
Okay, thank you. So I would need a second on that.
Second.
Any discussion on the addition? Okay. It was moved by Member Lofold. It was seconded by it was moved by Member Trinka and seconded by Member Lofold. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries to add the constant contract to the Business Committee meeting. Okay. And then any other discussion on the agenda? Okay, so all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then going to reading and approving the minutes, and we'll start with the regular school board meeting on December 19th. Is there, do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve, but it's December 18th.
You are right. So change that to December 18th. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Member Kirby. Okay, and any further discussion? Corrections or changes? Okay. All in favor of approving the regular school board meeting for December 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. And then the next item is our annual organizational meeting on January 7th. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Member Lofold, seconded by Member Sandstead. Any discussion? Okay. Member Gorham?
Just a note, I believe
Just 1 minute.
Just a note on this one, sorry I didn't catch it sooner. Under approval of the official newspaper, I voted nay. Okay. It was not a 7-0, it was a 6-1.
Okay. With in the organizational meeting, with the approval of the newspaper, Member Gorham voted nay, not for it. So, okay. So the corrections will be made. Okay. Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. All in favor of supporting the annual organizational meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. And then the next item is our special school board meeting, which we had on January 14th. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Member Sandstead, seconded by Member Trinka. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes for the special meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to move down to the school and community recognition. I shut mine off.
Members of the board, this month we're recognizing Denfeld Clock Tower Cafe students and Chef Leah Bangs. Hospitality is a huge industry in the Northland. Our career and technical education program provides hands-on classes in restaurants management. Courses prepare students for a career in food service industry. They provide opportunities to earn a certification in food safety. Students can take part in industry partnerships, internships, Skills USA teams, and ProStart. Students can also earn post-secondary scholarships. Denfeld Clock Tower Cafe students recently conducted an amazing fundraiser and learning project. They baked, decorated, and boxed over 1,500 cookies, about 120 dozen, and sold all within a half day. They also baked and sold 25 pans of lasagna. Through the project, students learn how to order supplies and how to price what they create. They learn how to work in a professional kitchen. They made $720. Sales help cover program costs and support educational field trips. Students will visit Ranchers Legacy, Little Angie's, and Hibbing Community College. Congratulations to Chefs Leah Bangs and her students Jacob Sharp, Abrina Uridia, Martin Erickson, Tana Wood, Dion Granier, Justice Granier, and Deshaun Preston. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, Clock Tower. Many of us who were at the Teacher of the Year ceremony enjoyed the treats that you prepared for that last week as well. So a shout out for the work that you did just last week as well. So thank you. Okay. We're now going to the time on our agenda for community audience input, and Member Gorham, if you want to read our tools for civility. Okay.
11 tools of civility. This school board recognizes 11 tools of civility that will provide increased opportunities for civil discourse in order to find positive resolutions to the issues that face our community. These tools include 1. Pay attention. 2. Listen. 3. Be inclusive. 4. Don't gossip. 5. Show respect. 6. Be agreeable. 7. Apologize. 8. Give constructive criticism. 9. Take responsibility. 10. Be honest and care for others. 11. Show your evidence. Share your reasoning. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I'll remind folks that you'll have 3 minutes, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and Clerk Gorham will let you know when that time is up, and we'll call your names. You can come to the mic over there, and we'll start with Kevin Square Brown.
Board member, superintendent, good evening. I'm Kevin Square Brown, and I'm representing the Community-Based School Equity Initiative. 2 years ago, a group of Duluthians who cared deeply about schools, about kids, and about equity gathered to understand the ways in which our school system was inequitable. We weren't the first to ask those questions. Likely, as long as there has been formal education, there have been those questioning, challenging, and offering solutions related to disparities in access and opportunity within the schools. The work of our group grew out of and then merged with those other voices. We conducted community meetings as well as interviews with school board members, administrators, and district staff. That process produced a set of 11 areas of inequities or unmet needs. One of those was around compensatory education funds. Funds that were, funds from the lower income schools that One of those was around the diversion of compensatory education funds from the lower income school communities that generate them to the wealthier schools in order to lower class sizes in those wealthier schools. The comp ed diversion was an issue that the community could understand as fundamentally unfair. Not surprising, there was resistance within the district and on the school board to changing a practice that had served those wealthier school communities. From an equality framework, one that sees same treatment as fair treatment, the call for realignment was unacceptable. What that equality framework fails to recognize again and again is that the same treatment applied where the needs are not equal simply perpetuates disparities. The alternative framework, one focused on equity, recognizes that not everyone comes with the same resources and needs. Hence, an equity approach applies resources proportional to the level of need so that the outcome, rather than the investment, is equal. 1 year ago, this school board took a stand for equity. It was a bold move. Transformational shifts are always bold because they interrupt business as usual. You invested in the schools whose students as a whole were doing less well at achieving the standards we have for all of our students. You voted to significantly and progressively realign comp ed. Tonight, we thank you for that boldness, particularly those of you who are and have been strong supporters for equity. We wondered recently, what has been the impact so far of the shift in comp ed for those schools that are now receiving more of the money generated based on the needs of their kids? In time, we will get the statistics, the data, and numbers. For now, let's hear some of the stories that speak to the differences that you've made in realigning comp ed. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Amanda Borling.
Put this down, I'm a little shorter. Good evening, superintendent and school board members. My name is Amanda Borling. I am this year a general ed school social worker working at Myers-Wilkins Elementary School, and due to the compensatory funding, that is where my position has been made this year. I like to say on a selfish note that I love being in one building. It is great to making those connections with children. My day starts at 7:15 7:15, and at 7:17, I am there greeting the kids in the doorway coming into breakfast every morning. One of my big goals this year, as well as another cohort of mine, is learning every student's name in the school of approximately almost 500 of them. I can honestly say we're about 75% there. So those kids come in the morning, we greet them by name, say good morning to them. I am also the last one they see walking out the door at the end of the day due to my position. So they do say good morning to me, and I do get to say goodbye to them at the end of the day by their names and send them off on their ways. Also, part of my position is I am allowed to check in and do check-in and check-outs with students regularly throughout the day. We have also made a room or a spot for students to go to when they are in need of a break. We have entitled it the Zen Den. One of the groups I am proud of that I do as an early intervention is called the K Crew. So the K Crew is for kindergarten students. There's approximately in my group right now about 6 of them. So we meet 3 times a week as an early intervention to preparing them going into first grade. Also part of my position, it fits beautifully with our multi-tiered system, where now at Myers-Wilkins we do have those 3 tiers with my position. So we do have our special education school social worker. We have myself as a general educational school social worker, and then we also have the social emotional learning specialist. So the 3 of us together, by heart, our school social workers or social workers fit together in my mind perfectly, where we can provide those 3 tiered systems to the children at Myers-Wilkins this year. So thank you for those extra fundings for having my position and being able to work with those kids and saying good morning to them every day, checking with them, asking them how their night was, what they ate for dinner, how they're feeling today, and then sending them on their way at home and asking them again at those same questions at the end of the day. What are you going to do when you get home? Who's going to be there for you? And then they know I'm going to be there the next day again to be able to say good morning to them and to say goodbye to them again. They know that I'm going to be there and that it's going to be consistent because of this position. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Diane Fitzgerald.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Gronseth. My name is Diane Fitzgerald, and I'm a proud school counselor at Denfeld High School, and I have had the honor of shaping lives of students for the past 35 years. As we remember the significance of yesterday's celebrations across our nation to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I share his profound words: "Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be." Last year, this board made a bold decision to equitably allocate discretionary comp ed funds. In doing so, it appears that you had the forethought that we, as a district, have a responsibility to provide equitably for each student in our district so that all students have the opportunity to be successful. To that end, I'd like to share with you tonight some of the impacts your decision has had on the students, families, staff, and the community of Denfeld. With our increase in discretionary comp ed funds, we've been able to decrease class size so that our staff are able to personalize and individualize learning for students. Our teachers have been able to better differentiate core instruction, and our staff has been able to build quality relationships. We have developed a multi-tiered system of support for social-emotional learning. We've done this by hiring a social-emotional learning coordinator who, with a team of individuals, have begun to build programs that provide relevance and strengthen core relationships and engagement for students through a culturally relevant lens. Our coordinator is able to communicate across efforts and initiatives. He is better able to coordinate the Minnesota model, which is a plan that provides conflict resolution mediations 8 to 10 times per week, whereas last year we provided mediations only 1 to 2 times per week. We're creating a social emotional learning manual on how to meet the needs of students experiencing trauma and grief, including how we as a school coordinate all available resources. We're providing level 1 and 2 behavior interventions in a more timely manner using restorative and culturally competent practices. We've added a learning opportunity for all students called Act Out Loud, which is a credit-bearing course which allows students, particularly students of color, to build skills in acting, speaking, writing, and problem solving. At Denfeld, we have developed a multi-tiered system of support for academics as well by hiring a professional learning community coordinator. He's begun to build systems of support and interventions that increase achievement, engagement, and relevance, which has resulted in academic success. The PLC coordinator communicates across efforts and initiatives, and he has provided professional development to staff on how we create interventions for and connect students to supports to improve academic achievement. We've implemented specific targeted professional development opportunities, which was provided by our discretionary comp ed funds, and included specific instructional practices to increase black male achievement.
Diane, can you start to wrap up, please?
I will. Okay, so, I could go on and on. However, I know that these last few minutes, I have not been able to encapsulate the magnitude of support that we have been able to provide for our students in the Denfeld area. I want to thank you for your courageous decisions regarding the distribution of comp ed funding. And as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the time is always right to do what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. The next speaker is Linda Puglisi.
I said Keppers.
Sorry about that, Linda. Thank you.
My name is Linda Puglisi, and this message is from Nathan Glockley, the principal at Stowe Elementary School. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Stowe story. I apologize for not being able to make it tonight. Having been in education for 20 years, I have had the opportunity to be a part of many changes in my role as an administrator in the ISD 709. There have been $1 million grants awarded to schools I have worked in, mergers of high schools, and a long-range plan for the district, to name a few major events. When we look at the changes that have happened in our district as a whole, there have been a mix of different emotions and reactions from everybody. Even people who do not live in Minnesota have an opinion about what Duluth Public Schools should or shouldn't be doing. But the move to shift compensatory dollars where they are generated was probably one of the most impactful and courageous decisions that have been made in my tenure in Duluth. If you know me, I tend to be critical of decisions that are made because oftentimes there is a knowledge gap from the people making the decisions to the people doing the work. The decision to provide compensatory education dollars to schools that generate it was a complete game changer for Stowe. This has been my best year in education. With compensatory funding, we have been able to reduce class size and not have a split classroom. We have been able to utilize reading and math interventionists like never before. In addition to adding some needed resources and interventions to students in the classroom, we have added some very practical things to address areas of need. Whenever we surveyed students about bullying, the worst time of the day was during recess. As you might imagine, recess had minimal supervision and activities. The shift in funding has allowed Stowe to do some creative things to make recess a more enjoyable experience for kids. Each and every day, students have an opportunity to do a club. One day, students are making forts in our nature trail. One day, a group is learning how to knit at the Gary New Duluth Rec Center. And don't even get me started on how much the kids love Gaga Ball Club. Instead of students making poor choices at recess, students are provided an opportunity to play in a small group with an adult to supervise. And for the students who do not participate in the club, there are less kids on the playground, which makes the monitor to student ratio even better. Now, do we still have problems? Absolutely. Do we still have a long way to go? Yep. But the reality is the funding change has allowed Stowe Elementary the opportunity to write itself based off of what we believe will be the most impactful strategies. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, Linda. And then the last speaker is Mary Owen.
Good evening. I want to also thank you, a big thank you with a caveat. Thank you so much for the work that you did last year in pushing this, and thank you for the teachers that come forward. That really gives, I think, a lot of us, it feels good to know that this has happened and the work that you're doing behind these comp ed funds. I also want to say that this morning I was listening, and I think we could do more. This is just the beginning. This morning I was listening to about the reports on the LA strike, as I'm sure most of you are aware of. And one of the leaders of the strike said something really profound to me, and it's something that we're all aware of, but when somebody says it, it really, when she said it, it just rang true. And she said that the rich people in LA, particularly the school board members in this case, and the school superintendent, would never allow their kids to be in the school districts that those kids are coming for, that they're striking, because they don't do well enough. So in other words, if your kids aren't involved, there might not be as hard a work being done. And that was the point she was making. Now, I'm not saying that about you, but I am saying that we need representation if we're going to change these education disparities. So what I would urge any of you who are up for re-election, if you're not going to be running for your seat again, is to think about a person of color. Think about someone from that 50% high school graduation rate, someone from that community, or the 37% high school graduation rate, and push them to run for this school board. Because until we are represented fully, I don't believe that we're really going to see the change that we need to see. Thank you for your time, and thanks for your work.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we're done with the, is there any additions? Could you just check there? Okay, Emma. I'm sorry. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on our agenda then is the report of the communications, and there were no communications that came in for this month, so we'll move on to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Well, today is the first day of the second semester, and the first day is done, so we're officially over halfway through the school year. Yesterday, as was mentioned, was Reverend Martin Luther King Day. There were several events throughout the weekend, and many of our students were involved, and whether they were sharing inspiring words or songs or dances or making signs, their support through their presence, ISD 709 was very well represented. And the message of hope and unity are so important, especially with all of the conflict we're seeing all over the world, really. And we just really want to thank everyone for their involvement in these efforts, for making these meaningful events, and for bringing so many people throughout the community together. I know that yesterday was a pretty crisp morning, but the deck was just about full. There were even people up in the balcony. It was so full. It was really great to see so many people coming out in support. So, also talking about that winter weather, it is also that time of year when we get lots of winter weather advisories, like we did last night, and several times throughout the day, the forecast kept changing. You know, it started out, we were going to get 10 inches, then 8 inches, then 6 inches, and maybe 4 inches. And so we stay in contact with the National Weather Service. We talk to when it does snow, we talk to the city and the county to see how the plows are going and how what their time estimate is for getting streets clear enough. And we try to make a decision at least by 5 a.m., because our buses are underway at 5:30 to start their first routes. So if we do decide to delay or cancel, we contact the media, we use social media, we use email, and we also use our computerized calling system to either call or text. Texting is only if you've opted into texting, and you could receive a text instead of a phone call. But we try to let people know as soon as possible, and we try to make the very best decision that we can with the information that we have at the time. As you know, the saying in Duluth, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes. So sometimes it can be tough to make that call, and we don't take it lightly. We would also like to congratulate Diane Mosel, Kristen Bergeson, and Jane Jutine for being nominated by their peers for Minnesota Teacher of the Year, and we wish them well as they move forward in that process. We're so proud of our amazing staff and just are happy to shine a light on them during this process. Registration for next year is right around the corner, in just a week or two. So if you know people getting ready to send their 5-year-olds off to kindergarten or off to middle school or off to high school, please let them know that it is time to sign up. There's a quick link on our website to the registration page, and we recently held an open house for our elementary immersion programs, and it was a packed house. So if you have interest in one of our immersion programs, either Spanish or Ojibwe, we encourage you to sign up early as those sections are filling up quickly. That information is on our website as well, or you can contact Lowell Elementary School if you'd like to visit or get more information. It's really an amazing opportunity. Or you could ask Member Sandstead as well. At this time, I am happy to introduce once again our student school board representatives, Emma Natali, got it that time, and Vanessa Farrell from Duluth East, and they will be providing us with monthly reports as our student reps have in the past. And so welcome, and are you ready for your very first report? Yeah, all right. I don't know, I'm just going to go with the order that they are right here. And so Representative Natali from Denfeld. Oh, yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Emma Natali. I'll start by introducing myself. I participate in robotics, knowledgeable, math team, link crew, choir, I'm in NHS, and I'm also in soccer, as well as being one of the soccer captains. All right, so now to the exciting stuff. We've been very busy at Denfeld. Last week, to help freshmen prepare for finals, Link Crew held Cocoa and Cram, an after-school event that gave them the opportunity to be helped by NHS tutors, as well as to be helped by their teachers. This past weekend, we also had our Sweetheart Dance, which was very fun, and it was a good way to relax after finals. Our math team is currently ranked number 1 in our section. They have placed first in 2 of the 3 meets, but still have 2 more to go, so hopefully they'll be able to go to state this year. Robotics has started their 6-week build season and are off to a great start. They have already started prototyping and designing the robot. Denfeld Dance Team will be performing at sections next weekend and are seeded towards getting 3rd. The boys hockey team won their last game 3-2 against International Falls. And then in debate, Quentin Ramoldi and Autumn Zierman won our section and had the opportunity to compete at the state competition, where they placed 10th. So congratulations to them and the debate team for an amazing and successful season. And finally, Fine Arts Night will be held on January 31st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Denfeld. I invite you all to come and see the amazing art students have been working on, as well as to listen to some of the music from the various music programs at our school. That concludes the Denfeld report. I'm very excited to begin my term as the Denfeld school representative and can't wait to see what we will accomplish this year.
And Representative Farrell.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Farrell, and I'm a junior at East. I'm really excited to be here for the next year. At East, I'm involved in debate, speech, exec board, student forum, the Alpine Ski Team, Key Club, and ABO Hounds. Being in a diverse group of clubs allows me to keep up with school events and what's happening at East. On that note, I'll talk about what's going on right now. So we just had finals and finished up the grading period starting the new semester today. We had Cocoa and Cram on the Monday before finals, where Hound Pack leaders helped their freshmen study for their first ever finals. And then the following Tuesday before finals, Key Club hosted a Focusing for Finals event as part of Integrity Month, and the NHS tutors helped the students prepare. 2 East debaters went to state over the weekend, which hasn't happened in a while, so they made us very proud. Sweetheart was also on the same Saturday as Denfeld Sweetheart, and it had a good turnout and everything went well. Right now there's a basketball game where the red and gray theme is going to be announced along with the red and gray candidates. ABO Hounds is putting on the second blood drive of the year on Thursday, and I'm helping running this, and we're aiming for more donors than last time, so if any of you want to donate, just let me know. Also on Thursday there's the Evening of the Arts event from 7 to 9. There's a one-act play there going on, poetry, art from students at East, and an open mic, and that concludes it.
Thank you, and an amazing job for your very first report. We look forward to coming reports as we go along. So thank you so much, and that concludes the superintendent report. I think she had something else.
Okay, there you go. Oh,
I think she.
Did you have something in addition?
No, I meant to turn it
Okay.
off.
Okay.
Sorry.
The mics haven't been changed over yet, so we just want to double check. Thank you. Okay. And great job on your first reports. And I just have to say, my husband and I chaperoned at the East Sweetheart Dance on Saturday night, so I know they had a good time, and so did we. So I knew both schools had their Sweetheart Dance. Okay, we are going to move on now to our 3 standing committees, and we'll start with the Education Committee. And just a reminder that our standing committees meet the week before our regular school board meeting, and so the Education Committee, HR, and Business Committee were held on Monday and Tuesday of last week. And I'll turn it over to Chair of the Education Committee, Lofold.
So thank my crew for coming up to the table. There we go. There we are. We're on. So thank you. You're all set. Again, I just want to shout out to Emma and Vanessa, and I'm a proud debate coach right now too, and thank you for knowing that those things happen. Sometimes we assume that some programs get more highlight than others, but in my years of doing this, I have been blessed to have great recognition and appreciation for our fine arts. And so again, I want to highlight too that the East Fine Arts is this Thursday, February 24th. It's really a great night, or January 24th, not February. And then the Denfeld's Fine Art Night is the very next week on January 31st. So it would be great to see board members there, and if you need a free ticket or anything, let me know. That would be good. And again, like Chair Loeffler-Kemp emphasizes, is we really love when our community comes to our committee meetings, which were last week, because that's where we really do have questions and input and clarification and challenges even, and just a nice conversation. In fact, you know, one of the community members came up to me after our committees last week and just thanked us for being in a moment of conversation and exchange and question and trying to get to the best thing that we can do for our community and our kids. So Monday and Tuesday, second Monday and second Tuesday, we have committee meetings, and I'm the chair of the Education Committee. We meet on Monday. So again, I want to also shout out to the 3 ISD 709 teachers, staff that were recognized at the Teacher of the Year. Just because I am the Education Committee chair, I want to raise up our staff when we have such great celebrations. So again, Jane Jutine, who teaches math at Duluth East, no, at Ordine East, and our Phi-Ed teacher that teaches at Lowell, Christine Bergeson, and our ECFE, our Early Childhood and Family Education Coordinator, Diane Mosel. Just great representation of ISD 709. There might even be others. This is promoted by the Duluth Federation of Teachers. Other teachers certainly could have been. I didn't check the list, but oftentimes PTAs or other administrators, other teaching staff, parents can also move forward a nominee. So they are all moving on towards the next level. So congratulations. Our education committee meeting also always starts with Assistant Superintendent Jeff Horton's kind of reflection and updates, and he gives us current information regarding implementation of our district's policies and initiatives and school operations. And so Assistant Horton just shared a number of different initiatives. He's always upbeat. He always shares things that are going well, also areas that he has gotten concerned and that we're working on for clarification and understanding, and we appreciate that. So it's recommended that the Duluth School Board receive Assistant Jeff Horton's report as informational. And then we always also have the opportunity to have conversation and updates with our curriculum director, Gail Netlin, who's settling in and getting to know our district and meeting our staff, and we just celebrate that you're here working with us. And the purpose of her report also is to provide, some current information regarding the status of the work of our curriculum. That's why we're a curriculum director. And also then some instructional development things. Our professional development days are often in your department too, and we appreciate the hard work that goes into those. So we received her report as informational as well. But good stuff, good conversation. And again, if you missed the committee meeting, it's on YouTube, and you can listen to their reports out of their own mouths. So thank you. Next, we go on to our grant applications, just as a reference to the fact that these were the grants that were applied, and we approved those, and now these are the grants that have been awarded. No, these are grants that have been applied for. So we have 3 of them. We have a $5,000 grant proposal for a set of Chromebooks for special education department at Lincoln Park. We have a grant application to the Rotary Duluth Club for $5,000 to go to Ordine East's Middle School Robotics Club. And we also had a grant application for the Northwoods Woman in Science, a $500 grant for Ordine East's materials to teach a computer science. And those are recommended that the Duluth School Board receive those items as informational. Moving right along, we also covered just some information about an external trip notification for the school board, just for clarification for all of us. And Superintendent Gronseth was good about explaining to us extended trips and chaperones and costs and liability from our district. So I think we're all up to date on those kind of external trip notifications. This is for the Duluth East Travel Club to go to France and England during the spring break week. And again, this is to be received as informational. We do have some action items. So we're going to move to that. And the first action item is just to, again, approve our ISD 709 2019-2020 revised calendar with the right Thanksgiving holiday break. So when we approve the Education Committee, will also approve that calendar. It won't be a separate vote. Okay? And then I'm going to read resolutions. I've got 2 of them that we do have to approve. So I'm going to read Resolution E-1-19-3619. It's a resolution of acceptance of grant awards to the Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465-03 requires a school district to accept grants by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the grant accordance with the donor's terms is the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grant from said organization in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend, and we do, its grateful appreciation to these organizations. We have 2 grants to accept in this package. It's the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, $15,000 for the Pathways to Teaching programs at Duluth East and Duluth Denfeld, And also our Lester Park Foundation gave $6,260.12 to various teachers at Lester Park for various projects, and we appreciate that foundation's work. So I move Resolution E-1-19-3619, the acceptance of grants.
Second. Seconded by Member Trinka. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Member Loeffel. Go on.
And then I'm going to read into our official book, I guess, E-1-19-3620. It's the resolution of school boards supporting Form B application to Minnesota State High School League Foundation. Whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation was formed to provide support for Minnesota's high school youth to participate in athletics and fine arts, whereas the District ISD 709 School Board recognizes the value of students' participation in extracurricular activities, and whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation is offering grants and funding to assist school districts to providing seminars, training, and opportunities or support for specific school functions for students, faculty, members, officials, and others who are involved in athletic and fine arts programs. Therefore, be it resolved that the Duluth School Board supports the district's application to the Minnesota State High School League Foundation for a Form B grant. I move E-1-19-3620.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0 for resolution E-1-19-3620. And then Member Loeffel, do you want to continue?
I'm going to continue with the policy conversation, and again, that's a big part of all of our committees is the moving of policy. So we reviewed 2 policy changes. Both are in their first readings, and we had good conversation, good clarification, and we shared input to the policies. Our first policy is we're working to delete 5123. It's our crisis management policy, and we're looking to delete it and revise it with policy 806. Dealing with a variety of school safety and a wide range of potential crisis situations in our school district. The new policy 535 is also in its first reading. And again, at our last week's Education Committee meeting, we had great questions, insight, and conversation on this policy, and we will continue to look at policy 535. Right? Okay. Oh, and then no, we have a new policy. So we're going to continue to look at the crisis management policy, which is 806. And then we have this new policy, and it's on, it's also in its first reading, and this policy is 535. It is not replacing any current policy we have. And again, we had good questions and conversation. Policy 535 is on disproportionate enrollment. The purpose of this policy is to look at counseling materials and in reviewing enrollment once students have registered. And we'll continue to look at that policy as well. It is recommended that the Duluth School Board look at policies 806 and 535 for first readings only. Okay. And then we're looking at just one more extended field trip request for the Denfeld Orchestra traveling to New York over the 2019 spring break, I know. We are fortunate to have staff and teachers who will create these opportunities for our students and travel with them over their break in order for our students to have an enriching experience. We are very grateful as a school board, and it is recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve this extended trip request. Our next item is diploma requests. And so congratulations to Adam J. Gullo and to Kia P. Harper and Gavin Michael Benoit and DeMonte Tremon Simmons and Christopher Delbert Johnson. Those are our 5 graduates that we are now asked to give them their diploma. A congratulations applause for our latest high school graduates. It is recommended that the Duluth School Board receive and accept these diploma requests. Our last item is a data shared agreement that we looked at from the YMCA for our True North AmeriCorps. It is recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the data request when we approve this report. So this ends the Education Committee report for January 22nd, 2019. I move to accept.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Gorham. Any discussion on the Education Committee? Sorry, thank you. Any discussion on the Education Committee? Okay. All in favor of accepting the Education Committee report for January, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. And thank you. You got that? Okay. Then we'll move on to the HR Committee, and Chair Kirby,
Thank you, committee.
Could do that, and thank you, staff. Okay.
Thank you. The HR Committee met on Tuesday, January 22nd, and it was a fairly brief meeting. Actually, there were no action items. We did go over the staffing report, which is available, and it was shorter than usual this time of year. Most of our time was spent with another informational item, which is the STAR reporting, which reports district demographics relating to diversity. And I can't remember if this is state or federal state mandated, and this was presented to us. Our diversity is stable, although not what we would like, and I think that we had a discussion on the board about the board's desire for more diversity and asking HR department on how this might be accomplished and what measures we're taking to increase that diversity. Other than that, there were no other items discussed, and as I say, it was quite short, so I move the HR report for January 22nd.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Lofold. Any discussion on the HR report? Okay. All in favor of the HR report, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 7-0 to accept the HR report. Okay. We are just moving right along. So now we'll move on to the Business Committee report. Thank you, staff. And Member Trinka will Chair Trinka of the Business Committee will guide us through that.
Great. Thank you. I want to echo all of the previous comments welcoming Emma and Vanessa, and I'm assured that they're really interested in active participation on the board and maybe with some of our exciting committee meetings. So welcome. We're really happy to have you. It's interesting when you hear them discuss all the clubs they're in and you kind of think like, well, what am I doing with my time? So it's great to have such accomplished young people on the board. I also want to just give a quick shout out to Coach Bergson for me. If any of you want to learn how to run your fastest 100 meters on a dirt road, give her a call. All right, so getting to the Business Committee report. We had a presentation from our auditors at Whitfleet, and that information is available if people are interested in that. It was a lengthy discussion, and we appreciated the opportunity to talk with the CPA representing Whitfleet on our annual audit. Just as an overall summary, there were no findings over internal controls, compliance with federal or state programs, which is one of the first red flags we always look for. Also, just as a point of reference, and part of this was presented at the Business Committee meeting, and part of this we learned at our MSBA conference last week too, but Duluth is ranked 26th in terms of student enrollment, and so, you know, we're located in the top percentage, which tends to make our finances even a little bit more complicated, which we're learning by our APU numbers that we're learning about from our new CFO. We also had, we're back to our regular financial reports being included in our packets. And so I just want to thank the finance team for listening to the requests of the school board in terms of how information is best digested for all of us. And then also walking us through some of the complexities that go into budgeting, including the projected average daily membership, which we're thankful is on track with what we had budgeted. That's good news. So one of the pieces that we're looking forward to adding in 2019 for all of you who are interested in learning about the complexities of school board finance and school district finance, introducing some educational components into our business committee meetings moving forward. So if you only stay tuned for part of it, you know, you might be a YouTube sensation, Kathy, after this. We didn't have any, quickly, nothing major under the budget, but we're going to begin to consider updated budget numbers in February. And so thanks to the finance team for all of your hard work on that. I know that you guys have been working diligently on the budget and on making pieces of it, making sure that we're optimizing our funding where we have it available. So a big thanks for jumping all in your first few months on the job. I also want to quickly acknowledge the fundraisers that happened. I really appreciate the ingenuity and the hard work that students and teachers put into different fundraisers that support efforts happening at the different schools. Next, we discussed policy 714, which is a proposed change to our fund balances. The cliff notes on this is we're changing the maintenance of a minimum assigned general fund balance to 8% of the unrestricted general fund. It was 10% or an X number of operating expenses. And that will delete policy 3017. We also discussed policy 307, the conflicts of interest and fiduciary policy. It was our first reading, and we had a robust discussion around this one in terms, and this will likely have a bunch of edits at our second reading at the next business committee meeting. So thanks to the team of folks who are working on that. It's a long policy, so let's see. Then we discussed policy 250, the school board member compensation bylaw, which feels a little bit awkward to vote on as a school board member, but appreciated the finance staff providing us with compensation comparables so we could see where we sat in comparison to some of the other similar sized districts in Minnesota. All right, then our resolutions start on page 155. So I'm going to read policy B-1-19-36. Oh, I'm sorry. I did this at the business committee meeting too. In the contract section, thank you. We had presented to us at the business committee meeting a contract from the Costin Group, which is being proposed as a lobbying firm with which ISD 709 would work to help support the agenda that the policy agenda that we'll be discussing a little bit later. The superintendent's going to give us a high-level overview of our policy asks from our elected representatives in St. Paul. So we had a discussion around that and had got a little bit of historical reference in terms of what our last agreement looked like the last time we had a lobbyist working on behalf of ISD 709. So I would imagine yep. So that was a really good conversation. Again, as Member Lofald mentioned, a lot of the robust dialogue and discussion happens at our committee meetings, so we certainly encourage you all to attend those if and when you're able, or again, you can view them on YouTube. Now we'll move on to resolutions. Thank you, Jackie. So resolution B-1-19-3623, acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full. And whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public School wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to those various individuals and organizations. So with that, I move Resolution B-1-19-3623.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Sandsted. And any discussion? Okay. Member Trinka?
Yep, just a quick one. We had 4 pages, I believe, of donations this month, and so I just really want to thank all of the folks who donated to the ALC holiday auction and to the different schools for a variety of things, from families in transition programs to unpaid lunch debt, et cetera. So just a really big thanks to those who donated.
Thank you for that comment. So all in favor of the acceptance of the donations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. You can move on. Thank you.
Great. Next is Resolution B-1-19-3624, Authorized Bank Account Signer, January 2019. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that it hereby authorizes the following, and it's the removal of an authorized signer at Stowe. So I move B-1-19-3624.
Second.
Okay, great. Seconded by Member Lofold. Any discussion? All in favor of B-1-19-3624, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0, and you can move on.
Thank you. Next, I'll move Resolution B-1-19-3625, the 2019 Legislative Platform. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the attached 2019 Duluth School District Legislative Platform be adopted. I move Resolution B-1-19-3625.
Moved by Member Trinka. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Member Sandsted. Is there discussion?
I do. I don't know how to sign that when my light's already on. I was just hoping that the superintendent would be willing to hit the highlights of the legislative platform for 2019 that we're hoping to approve, recognizing there have been some changes since the last time the board saw it.
Sure. Most of the key points remain. Our number one platform item this year remains special education funding. With the special education funding formula changes that have happened in the last few years, Duluth has had a lower than expected base to that, and that means that we're actually behind by millions of dollars in special education funding. We join the rest of the districts in the state, really, and many organizations, both teacher, principal, superintendent, business officer, MSBA, all of the organizations are really aligning together towards getting some revisions in special education funding. We'll also be visiting the Capitol this Thursday and testifying before the policy and finance committees, and actually meeting with several of our legislators and authoring some bills around special education and some language specifically for Duluth as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of work around special education. Also an increase in the basic formula allowance, so that the basic student aid that we get has not been keeping up with the cost of living over the years, and so as our costs increase but our funding does not increase, we fall behind. And so we will be encouraging an increase in the base formula, hopefully by 3% each year of the biennium. We join, as with special education, we join many other organizations and school districts in a joint effort to increase basic formula allowance. We're also highlighting the former Duluth Central High School property again. The past session, we were very close to having language in the final bill, but of course there was not a final bill, and so we are hoping that we will have language to encourage the development of that site in the form of tax abatement for a future developer. As we have been continuing our focus on early education, we would like to see an expansion of those services provided to our youngest learners, because kindergarten readiness, we know, is very important, and so we need to start all of our students off well, and so we're looking to fully fund that expansion at the legislature. Mental health continues to be one of our focus areas too. Our ratio of counselors and social workers to students is among the lowest in the country, and so we're really looking for more funding from the state to be applied to mental health needs in our schools. And then the continuation of our full-service community schools model. We once had funding from the state to support this work, and we will be encouraging them to return that funding and allow for the expansion of full-service community school models across the state. So those are the big asks, and there's some other smaller ones, but those are the highlights.
Thank you, Superintendent Grunstedt, and I just wanted to add my own comment on this too. The legislative platform will go up on our website after it's approved, and I encourage the public to read it through and contact us if you want to help us in our lobby efforts this session. I know many of us on the school board will be going down, spending time lobbying, as well as other staff here in the district. So we look forward to our community members understanding our legislative platform and providing us with stories as we go down to the Capitol as well. And I just also appreciate that our legislative platform is also a reflection of some of the platform of our Minnesota School Board Association's legislative platform as well. And so there's lots of issues that statewide are being raised as well through their platform and then ours. So thank you for the more detailed explanation, Superintendent Grunstedt. And we need to vote on the platform, and so it's been moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Stansted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the platform passes 7-0, and you can continue on, Member Trinka.
Great. So that was the end kind of the action items. Just a few informational items that I wanted to be sure to highlight. We have a couple of grants that came in. One from the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, that's to support Pathways to Teaching. And I think, you heard from Member Kirby, and as we see in our STAR report, we're falling behind in our teachers of color, and so the Pathways to Teaching program is designed specifically to try to recruit young people, especially young people of color, into teaching. So glad to see that. And then some money came in from the University of Gothenburg to have a couple of international students at Lowell for a little while. So that should be an interesting international experience for the students at Lowell. We didn't have a chance to discuss facilities management, which is always one of my favorite reports because Mr. Spooner looks like he came back with a tan. So welcome back. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you back. And then the last item that we discussed, and we had a healthy conversation on this, was an update on the compensatory revenue expenditures. And so that information is available in the board packet, and I would encourage people to go in and take a look at it to see how sites are spending their compensatory education dollars. So with that, I move that we accept the business committee report.
Moved by Member Trinka. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Kirby. Any discussion? Okay, we'll start with Member Sandsted.
Yeah, I'd like to pull 4A, the consultant agreement.
Can you say that again?
I'd like to pull 4A, the consultant agreement.
Thank you. And Member Trinka?
I'd like to pull policy 714 for discussion.
Where is that?
It is on page 128.
3A.
3A. Thank you.
Okay. Any other considerations? Okay. We'll start then with Member Sandsted on the, Member Trinka on 3A.
Great. So I have a question around this for administration. As I was looking through our trustee packet from our auditors, one of the items that they highlighted in one of the packets that we got from them was that our district fund balance was not achieved in 2018. And as we look at changing the fund balance policy to say that we will strive to maintain a minimum unassigned general fund balance of 8% of the unrestricted general fund annual budget. I certainly understand that we've had a lot of financial challenges, and so the flexible language using the word strive in there, I can understand. But do we have some processes in place how can we be monitoring this more closely? I know that this is something that you are working on as our new CFO, so perhaps you can shed a little bit of light onto this, because I know that this has been a controversial topic with our community.
Thank you for that question. Striving is probably the best description we can do right now because of the situation that we're in and the goal that we need to achieve, which is a stable fund balance, an increase in our fund balance. We are working as part of our budget process to create goals for that fund balance, and so the challenge that you will have as board members, that we have as we go through the budget, is unexpected costs, other things that happen once the budget has been created. And that's why you have a fund balance, is so that when those things happen, that you have those funds available to you to be able to make decisions after those initial budgets have been created. And so striving to increase that fund balance will allow us in future years to have those dollars available. So that is a critical piece of the discussions we've been having with our leadership, and which we'll be having with you and with our building administration as well, to come up with that dollar amount, that goal that we'd like to do, not just for fiscal year 20, but and beyond. I don't know that we can put a specific goal because we have so many unknowns through the budget process. Every day that we work on the budget, we come up with something else that we have to discuss, something that we have to consider. We hear voices from around the district and around the community that we need to consider. So as we keep moving forward, I think I certainly have put it as the top priority of the district, is to make sure that we put fiscal stability and an increase in the fund balance as something that has to be embedded in our budget process. So know that that is a goal for all of us on the finance team, but as far as doing something specific, the monitoring would just be going through that process and coming to you when we have to consider spending it or changing it or growing it. Does that help?
Okay. Member Sandstead
Thank
on
you.
the contract.
Yes. This relates to the budget, and my comments on this are that I feel like this is sort of a cart before the horse situation, and I understand sort of the timing of now we're in the legislative session, and so that's an issue, but I feel like the first step with something like this, hiring a lobbyist for us should be, one, do we have it in the budget? And I listened to the discussion. I think it was covered that there is funding for this available, but I hope it appears in the budget in the future, so we'll see that. But then the second step for me would be, okay, if we have money to do it, then who are we going to select? And it was really nice of these folks to come forward from the Costin group, but I also think that it's important for us as a board to do our research and to see whether or not there are other options out there, and be able to shop around, so to speak, so that we know we're making a smart purchase here. And that would have been my suggestion, that we put this out for a proposal and do some research and then come back with a recommendation on moving forward with a lobbyist. So that's what I would prefer to see. If everybody else is ready to move forward, I'll be okay with that, but that would be my preference here.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I would make a motion that we have a separate vote on this, because I would like to vote against it just for the purpose of putting back out for a request for proposals in a expedited fashion. So I request that we do I need to move for a separate vote on an item? Okay, so I'm requesting a separate vote on this item.
I'm going to have Superintendent Grunset just respond a little bit to the process. We did have some discussion on the process at our committee meeting, as well as in explanation for choosing this group.
Yeah, I want to start with my apologies for not being able to attend the meeting. I was not well that day, and although I did watch the meeting on YouTube, which was very nice to be able to do. We have had some conversations with other lobbyists prior to this, especially with some groups like MREA, which is the Minnesota Rural Education Association, and AMSD, which is the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. And while they both had various services that they could provide to us, they weren't necessarily a good fit with the other partners that were in those organizations. And so as we had conversations around the community, there were a few other community leaders who had made recommendations for Mr. Anderson, and I believe he's had some conversation with other board members as well. I wasn't a part of those conversations, but so when they came forward, and it was a new partnership that Mr. Anderson had formed with the Costin Group, and so knowing that Gary has 30 years of experience and is well known at the Capitol, and when we spoke to them about our platform and some of the issues that we're bringing forward, they were able to give us some really specific strategies that they thought would work for us, and connections that they had that would be helpful. And so prior to that meeting, we kind of felt like we got this, we can do this, and then afterwards felt like, oh, you know what, those services and having someone at the Capitol for our specific needs to give us a call when they have to say, okay, they're discussing it right now, you need to get down here, get in your car, I'll explain on the way. Those kind of conversations are what we really need. We can develop language together, we can set up meetings, but knowing timing and having the connections to be with the right people at the right time is really what we need from a lobbyist. So I wasn't able to share that at the business committee because I wasn't there, but I wanted to do that now.
Thank you, Superintendent Grunstead. And then Member Oswald.
Thank you. I had this concern at the committee meeting, but I don't think I worded it quite correctly in that I'd like to know, now looking at this contract, where the accountability is in the product that they're going to deliver. How can we evaluate whether we're getting a good value for our money by their performance? Do we hire them again, that kind of thing, because we have no way to evaluate them. Is that included in this contract somewhere? I haven't seen it.
Do you want to address that? Thank you.
Sure. That is a great question. And part of what lobbyists do are reacting to the needs of the school district. And so they're being our secondary or third voice down at the Capitol, providing that information for us. As far as results, I think the expectation is, because we'll be working so closely with them, whether it's through the superintendent or through you as board members, consulting and working with them, because part of what they do is they advocate for us and with us. So they may be at meetings that we are attending, being that providing that level and network and connections that we need. Can they provide us assurance that the issues and concerns that we have are successful? I don't think that we can have that expectation, but can we be certain that our voices are being heard, and the expectations that we have as far as getting our information out there, providing support and connections, language for our legislation, yes, we can have that expectation. And I think we do already have a platform of what we have for expectations, and they are ready to support that with us. So I feel fairly confident that for the contract that we're seeing, that we will be seeing a great return on our investment.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. And then Member Trinka.
Thank you. So I have a smattering of questions and comments, and so I'm not really sure how to approach this. But so maybe you can scribble down the questions I have so we can get to those. First of all, at the business committee meeting, we discussed reaching out to the references, and there were 4 that they provided, so I'd be curious to hear from you what you learned on those reference calls. To me, it sounds like they came to first of all, I fully support ISD 709 having a lobbyist. In my career, have worked with a number of lobbyists, and I certainly recognize the importance and the value that they add, recognizing that we need you guys in the district, and we can't be running down to St. Paul all the time, so I certainly recognize that value. I think part of recognizing the value, to me, given the level of importance that the lobbyist has, because I've worked with great lobbyists, and I've worked with smarmy lobbyists, and I've worked with really bad lobbyists, and so the metric piece can be tricky, Member Oswald, but I certainly appreciate your point. So I think given the importance, because we are behind in a lot of our funding streams, that this really should have gone out for RFP, and given the dollar amount, I'm curious if that's mandatory, and I'm curious if we have some sort of policy that would require us to go out to RFP. There's not. So I guess my thought is, and I appreciate Member Sandstead wanting to separate this out, that that this should have gone out for RFP if we're recognizing that this is a priority for the district.
Thank you, Member Trinka, and then Member Kirby.
Thank you. I had a question the same as excuse me, Member Trinka. A couple of things, though. Do we know who else this group is lobbying for or with? Are they lobbying for people that would not be in our best interest? I mean, having different kinds of priorities. I wouldn't think so, but do we know that? And secondly, the cancellation is 3 months. Is that standard? It seems like a long time.
Okay, Ms. Erickson.
So the cancellation policy, I think, is a fairly straightforward policy. Part of if you read the language is that they're metered payments over a period of time. So they'll be providing targeted services right at our busiest time, but it's being payment over. So that would kind of level off those costs versus the services that they're providing. And then could you follow up on the second question that you had? Oh, who they're...
Yeah, who else they are working with?
Yeah, they are working with, they're working with some other school districts, but on specific asks similar to what we're doing, and they would not be in conflict from as far as I can tell. Sharing with them what our need was, they could see that ours is very unique, so we're not really in competition, and then those other things that are on our platform are very universal for many other school districts. So by them advocating for us, they're really advocating for policies and changes that would help many school districts throughout the state. So I did not have any concerns in relation to the question regarding the references. The references I was able to speak with had high regard for the work that the costing group has done in the past, and I did share at the business committee that I have worked directly with Mr. Serfenic on legislation when I was working with other school districts, and have seen the performance that he can do. He specifically related to some work that he has also been doing with municipalities and cities, so he's working with businesses, schools, and other organizations. So they have a wide breadth of experience, so they have a wide connection at the Capitol. So I hope that helps as far as the feedback that we've gotten.
Any other discussion, comments? Okay. Well, we can prepare to vote on this now. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Because you pulled that. So, can I have a motion to support the contract for the Constant Group?
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Member Lofold. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Member Kirby. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Let's all in favor of supporting the contract for the costing group, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
I think we need to do a roll call vote, please. Clerk Gorham?
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Okay.
New rule.
That's okay. We're all learning. We're here to support each other.
All right. My vote is yes, and then we go to Member Kirby, I believe.
I vote yes.
And we'll just go on down the line here. Member Oswald?
No.
Member Sandsted?
No.
Chair Loeffler-Kemp?
Yes.
And Member Lofold?
Yes.
Member Trinka?
No. Okay, the motion carries 4-3 to support the Constant Group. So thank you. Okay. Got that? Okay. Member Trinka, do you want to finish up with the Business Committee report? Were we done? Oh, sorry. Thank you.
I moved it, so
okay.
And I believe that there was a second.
Okay, so it was moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Kirby. Is there any further discussion on the Business Committee? Okay, all in favor of passing the business committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries 7-0 to pass the business committee. So we are moving right along, and the next thing on our agenda is a special resolution. And Member Oswald, could you read that resolution, please? I have a copy of it if you need. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Resolution authorizing school board members' attendance at the Duluth and St. Louis County Days at the Capitol. Resolved that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay costs incurred as per district policy for school board members to attend the Duluth and St. Louis County Days at the Capitol event held in 2019. I move resolution SP-1-19-3622.
Second.
Okay, moved by Member Oswald, seconded by Member Lofold. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of resolution SP-1-19-3622, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there any additional questions or comments? Okay, a motion by Member Trinka to adjourn, seconded by Sandstead. Member Sandstead, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, and the meeting ends at 8:04.
And the news is next.
Thank you.